Trae Young's first budget-friendly shoe just hit the market, but is the Trae Unlimited worth the $95 retail price? Let's check them out. Welcome back to our channel. In this video, I'm going to break down all of the different performance features for Trae's new shoe, such as traction, support, cushion, and more. But first, we'll go ahead and touch on just some of the basic info. So the Trae Unlimited retails for $95, making them roughly like $45, $50 cheaper than his main line, which is going to be retailing for, I want to say it's like $140 right now. And as of now, there's only 3 colorways that have dropped for this new shoe. I have the black and white ones right here, obviously. There's also like a solar red color scheme out there with the same price, but there's a gray colorway that actually retails for $5 cheaper at $90 for some reason. And I mean, that's not super important, but I guess now you know. So checking out the appearance of these before we kind of get into how they play. Me and Chase actually talked about this a lot, or at least a little bit in our first impressions, just when we tested these out outside. I mean, depending on what angle you're looking at them from, they have like an entirely, they can take on like an entirely different look. So I always start from the side, but today we're going to go ahead and go from the front because that toe box was clearly made to resemble the Trae Young 2 with, the 3 stripes running horizontally across that. And I actually think that's really clean. I did like that on his newest model also. But on the tongue, you're going to get that Adidas logo with Trae's player logo just right underneath. And I think his player logo is pretty cool. I like it better than, most others. But from the side of the shoe, you're going to go ahead and like see an entirely different setup again. So Chase actually said this almost reminds him like of a reverse Nike swoosh with that white line there. But you can also see some waves going on towards the back half of the shoe, like near the heel. And I actually thought that reminded me a lot of like the KD15. I thought there had like, some similarities there between those two models just on the heel setup. But I mean, in my opinion, I think this shoe looks really clean. It is a budget friendly shoe, and they definitely threw a lot of details on there that I didn't expect. Adidas just didn't leave any of that alone. But after all, this is a performance review, so now let's go and see how these shoes are on the court. So now getting into more of the tech specs and the performance side, we'll go ahead and check out the cushioning first. And the Trae Unlimited is working with some bounce in the midsole for the cushioning setup. And we do see that in a few other, budget-friendly lines out there, like the hardened step back. And I want to say that Dame Certified is also using bounce. And that's a pretty new shoe. Like the first pair dropped less than a year ago. And Dame's main line, I want to say, also has been using bounce since the second or the third model, I think. But the bounce feel is just meant to give you a blend of having a bouncy feel, just like the name implies, but also it's meant to be like more of a responsive feel in general, just compared to something like Boost. But playing in these, you would probably think they fall more in line with that Boost cushioning tech because the cushion is just an immediate positive from the second that you put these on. I don't want to bring it up, over and over again, harp on it too much, but it's especially soft for, a budget-friendly shoe. And I was just surprised at how dense and padded the cushioning felt under the footbed. That almost has nothing on the sock liner, which just, feels like it's even more padded. And just looking at the shoe in hand, you can tell that there's a ton of just cushioning that they worked in just around the back half of the shoe to make sure that they give you a comfortable feel. And these definitely deliver on that without a doubt. And I knew we were in good shape even during our first impressions because on that harder surface, like on an outdoor court, the impact protection was still feeling really great whenever you were landing from a shot or some type of jump. And so I wasn't shocked to see that carried over to indoors too. But using our durometer to check out the midsole, these were reading at a 28.5. And that's honestly one of the softer readings that I've ever had on a basketball shoe that I've played in. And honestly, that's right on brand with how these feel because cushion is definitely one of, if not the main highlight for the shoe. So now getting into more of the materials and the support, the Trae Unlimited is actually broken up in a few different ways, and they have a few different materials that are being used. So if you look at the toe box and running up that shoe a little bit, that's going to be more of a mesh feel with some holes built in there to allow your foot to breathe. And then from the side underneath that mock reverse swoosh, I should probably stop calling it that, but underneath that it's just going to be some holes poked in down there. But honestly, that just feels like more of a cheap or a fake leather feel in that spot. But along the back side of the heel where you have those ridges, that's going to be more of a filled in design, like I said earlier. But even with the front half of the shoe being made up of that thinner material, these are still weighing in at 464 grams for a size 10.5. That's not light enough to really be considered a light model, but it is on brand with his other shoes. The Trae Young 1, I think those were weighing 442 grams, and the 2s were 478. So I guess these are kind of sandwiched right in the middle there. But looking at more of the support, that's where the downfall of the Trae Unlimited starts to take place. Support has been one spot that I've had to pick at whenever it comes to all of Trae's shoes so far. The Trae Young 1, those just had 2 lacing loops, and there was just some slipping on that design. The support just felt mediocre. And the Trae Young 2, it had more of a sock sock-like fit to the actual model. And honestly, the lateral containment was like really good, especially for like a super thin model on that upper, but there was noticeable heel slippage on that design. And I'm afraid the Trae Unlimited is kind of following down that same path as the Trae Young 2. Whenever it comes to like your side-to-side movements, you're going to be good, you're covered there. But whenever it comes to, you know, taking off quick, using a quick burst, you know, something like that, you're not so good. And it pains me to say it and to feel it, because it feels like support is the main thing, not only holding back this shoe, but just, you know, all the shoes in his line so far. But I mean, you'll just have to let me know if you feel something a little bit different, but support was a downer for me once again. So finishing off with the traction and taking a look at the pattern first, the back half like around the heel is going to be more of a traditional herringbone setup with those arrows. Then it switches to more of like a radial setup near the front. And that is pretty similar to like how the other shoes like in his line have been designed as far as the pattern goes. In Trae's signature line, like the ones, I want to say they were pretty average, but it did feel like the twos took a step forward, but the traction is right back to being a positive on this model. The second I took them out of the box, you can just kind of feel that they had the potential to be sticky, and that's pretty much how they play. The only minor sliding that I did was like whenever they would get a little bit too dusty, but that doesn't happen at like an alarmingly fast rate. And our squeak test kind of backs that this time. Like they make a ton of noise whenever they're out there on the court, and the rubber outsole is very durable and the grooves are honestly pretty deep. So pairing that with the nice impact protection does make this a worthy outdoor model. But finishing off with the sizing, I went true to size, and that is probably where you're going to want to stay on this shoe. With the heel slip, like I wouldn't recommend going too big. That will just allow for, you know, more of a chance to be sliding out the back. But you also don't want to go like, you know, more than maybe a half size down, because there's only about maybe half a thumb's width left over for the length. But, you know, wrapping it up, I was saying this to Chase the whole time that we were filming these. Man, I just wish that heel movement wasn't there to affect the support, because outside of that, these feel really nice. Like the cushion is too soft to fall into that budget friendly range. So you know you're going to be getting a good bang for your buck there. Same thing with the traction. Those are two spots I'd say that these probably just outplay his main line for like $50 cheaper. So is the Trae Unlimited worth the $95 retail price? I'd still have to say yes. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. Feel free to throw us a follow or a sub if you like this video. And if you're interested in buying the Trae Young Unlimited and you want to support our channel, just click the link here on screen, or we have links down below or in our bio. So feel free to check that out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.